Good evening and welcome to No Ordinary Love. Tonight, we're going to be having a candid conversation with young adults about marriage, love, relationships, and dating during the pandemic. This has been hard on a lot of people. We have come out on the other side of the pandemic. Things have gotten better because of the amount of vaccinations, and I do encourage it. But I want to say very clearly, the pandemic isn't over just because you're over it. It's still very dangerous out there. And it's taking a toll on relationships within the Black community. Dating has become more difficult. Loneliness is on the rise. Divorce is on the rise. So I thought it'd be good as the youth director and the young adult director of South Atlantic to bring other young adults together to talk about what's taking place during the pandemic when it comes to marriage, dating, love, and relationship. I believe that God still has something for couples and young people out there. If you're waiting on somebody, I still think it's your time. And if you're married, I think you can hold on and still preserve your marriage. But let's have some candid conversation and talk about it tonight. Across the bottom of your screen, you'll see where you can find us on Facebook or YouTube. If you are currently watching us right now, we are humbly asking that you share this with somebody you know. Invite a couple, invite a young person, share it on your page. And I believe they're going to be blessed tonight with this exciting conversation. It's my honor to serve the South Atlantic Conference as Youth and Young Adult Director, but I'm going to take some time now to introduce some of my good friends as we cover this topic on tonight. First and foremost, we have with us a single young lady living in the Charlotte area. We have with us tonight Brittany Medley. Brittany, if you could unmute and take some time to introduce yourself to everybody, let them know what you're all about, tell them some information about yourself. Let's hear from Brittany Medley tonight.
Hi, everybody. As Pastor Donovan said, my name is Brittany Medley. I am located in the Charlotte area here in North Carolina. Currently, I am working as a legal assistant at a criminal personal injury family law firm. I also have a makeup page. I do makeup on the side as well. If you guys want to follow me up there, it's at Brittany Medley MU. Let me see what else do I have for you guys. I am currently writing a book. So it's not out yet, but I am currently working on a book on dating as a Christian millennial, people our age within our 20s trying to date and uphold Christian standards. It's not really I'm going to give you advice book, but you're going to see how my life went and how dating has gone for me and just my experience and my take on dating. I am also working on a singles podcast. It's going to be geared more so towards women. So I'm thinking about calling it All My Single Ladies. So it will be basically, I'm just going to be teaching y'all how to be single because I feel like a lot of us don't really know how to navigate singleness. And singleness can sometimes get a bad rep. So those are some things to be on the lookout for. They are not out yet. There are things that are in the works. I am also currently working as a social media manager at Wild Faith Code. It is a women's ministry and it is based online. So basically you can find us on Instagram. We do have a website. We have a blog. We have a publication that is coming out. So if you guys want to check that out as well, our app for that is at Wild Faith Code. So yeah, that's all I got.
Wow, wait a minute. Did I say Brittany Medley or Issa Rae? Man, you are taking over. And we are happy to have you on this evening. Our next guest is somebody who I consider a friend of mine. He's been a blessing to me throughout my career, and we worked together on a lot of projects. And I'm happy to have him here tonight. You've seen him everywhere online, but I'm glad we got him for this program on this evening. we have with us the one, the only, Chris Whittaker. My man. What's going on, brother?
You're talking too well of me. I am too humbled. That's an
Chris,
honor, man.
tell us a little bit about yourself. Plug us. What's going on in your life? Tell us what's going on with Chris Whittaker.
Yeah. So I'm Chris Whittaker. I live here in the Atlanta area in Georgia. That's changing the world in this election cycle and these weird times. I live here. I used to be a pastor full time for about almost a decade in the Great South Atlantic Conference, where Donovan Washington serves as director. I now serve in ministry, new capacity, serving in bivocational ministry, serving in healthcare administration right here in the Eastern Atlanta area, while simultaneously pouring out into others and speaking and empowering people. So I'm really honored to be here. Just a humble young man doing the best I can, man, to please the Lord, man. And I'm not even saying that. That's where I am right now.
A main man, Chris Whittaker, man. Honored to have you here as well. Now, these two individuals are single young adults, okay? Now that I've let everybody know they're single, let's put up their information one more time. That's Brittany Medley. You want to hit her up? DMs are preferable. Go right ahead, okay? And this is Chris Whittaker's information, okay?
And they can slide in the DMs or the comment section. Doesn't really matter. I see it all.
All right, that's my guy. Now, we have some married young adults that we're going to talk to tonight as well. And I want to introduce to you Jermaine and Onika Sumter of the JNO Show. You can find them on YouTube. They're going to talk more about that in a minute. What's going on, family? How y'all doing?
Hey, everybody.
Hi, everyone.
All right. Let's take some time to introduce yourself to everyone.
Yeah, well, as you mentioned, Jermaine and Alika of the JNO Show, we do have a YouTube channel where we actually focus on relationships and building strong relationships, because we believe that having strong relationships builds stronger communities, stronger families, which make up our communities. And that's what we're looking to do. We've been together for
coming up on 18, married for 16.
Yes.
Almost 16.
Fact check. Yeah, but we are also in the Charlotte area, by way of tri-state area. We're originally from New Jersey, but relocated down to the Charlotte area a few years ago. And we have two small children between the ages of 6 and 8. Our son and daughter, Nala and Cairo. And we're happy to be here. We're excited to be able to just have a conversation with everybody and kind of, get some feedback and have dialogue.
Okay. Make sure you reach out to them at the J&O Show. It's a wonderful show on YouTube, and I think you'll be blessed by it. And these are some good people, possibly moving to the Atlanta area soon. Who knows? Who knows?
Spoiler alert.
Who knows? Yeah. And I don't want to hear nothing about DMs for them. These married folk, okay? Right. Don't be like, oh, she looked nice or he looked nice. Let's go with these. No, these are married folk. We're not trying to hear that, okay? Now, our last couple won't be in the same window because they are parenting tonight. That's as real as it gets. But these are my friends for life. First of all, I want to introduce to you Mr. Sean Parker, working on his doctorate degree. My God, Sean, take some time to introduce yourself to everybody.
Wow, where to start? I guess, like Don said, my name's Sean Parker. Known Don for a long time, so I really was excited about finally getting the opportunity to jump on. To provide some input into whatever topic he would throw at us. So today happened to be on married life. So I am a mental health therapist. I do therapy groups. I do individual work, work with all populations. So also have a couple of youngins, 2 boys, DJ who's 14 and Darian who's 11, and they both are very, very, very active. So it's a lot of running around I'll let Shayla, who's about to come on in a second, explain to you where she is, and hopefully while I'm off screen, I'll be shooting up my other one to another practice in a little bit, and y'all won't see that. If so, then I'll be in the car somewhere as you see cars whizzing by me. But as of right now, it is what it is. Very active in East Market Street Church, and have hosted a few praise in the parks, and like to kind of entertain. So that's my thing. Not much else. Hey, everybody.
All right. Thank you, my brother, for being a part of this, despite your busy life. Now let's introduce his literal better half. I don't know what this brother would do without his wife. She makes him look better. I think he overachieved in marriage. And I want to introduce my equal friend, who I've known just as long, Shayla Parker. Say hey to everybody, Shayla. Introduce yourself.
Everybody, I am Shayla Parker. As my husband said, I am currently at a flag football practice, which is why I am in the car. And I've had some connectivity issues, so I hope that you all can hear me. I appreciate this opportunity to be a part of this talk, and I appreciate the extension from Pastor Washington to be a part of this. I am currently the director of purchasing at Guilford County Schools, which is our local district here. And I've been doing that for 3 years, but have been in purchasing for quite a while. Like Sean said, we have 2 children, 14 and 11, and they are uber active. So we are always back and forth. We are taxi cabs these days. But again, I do appreciate this opportunity to share my knowledge or whatever I've got to be a part of these discussions with everyone. And I look forward to our discussions tonight.
Shayla, thank you so much for doing this for us. I know your hands are full, but we surely appreciate you being a part of this. Well, folks, let's get right into it. And we're going to start with our single individuals. We want you to be real. We want you to be candid. We want you to let us know what was single life like, or what is it like during the pandemic. Bro, Whittaker, we're going to have you start off, okay? Now, listen, keep it PG. The babies are watching, okay? But tell us the ups and downs, the real. Someone out there is listening to this. Can you stay saved as a single person during the pandemic? Talk to us. We're going to begin with you tonight.
Yeah, I was shaking my head because off the top of my head, it was difficult. What's funny for me personally, it probably was not as difficult as it could have been. Throughout the pandemic, I was kind of focusing on this career transition. So I was kind of just really like keeping my head down and grinding in the industry that I'm currently working in. And so that definitely kind of took my attention. And I will say, not to give advice or anything like that, but that definitely helps. It helps with loneliness. It helps if one is trying to remain pure, is being able to stay occupied. And so that was a huge blessing for me, was being able to be occupied with work over the course of the pandemic. It was a blessing that I had some coworkers and friends who I ended up becoming real close to, and just completely platonic friends, no expectations, no issues, no drama. Hallelujah, somebody. And, we enjoyed each other's presence. I tried to just stick around them. I tried to social distance and not be in crowds or jumping from friendship group to friendship group. That was kind of just our little circle where we felt comfortable hanging around each other. So things like that definitely helped. But I'm kind of talking about the blessing and how I was able to get through. But ultimately, it was a challenge. And I could imagine, again, if I didn't have those things, that it would have been more of a challenge. I definitely dealt with moments of loneliness. I definitely dealt with moments of desire, passionate desire, if you will. I'm trying to find an appropriate word for it, but yeah, we'll stick with that. There was moments of desire. There was moments of just wanting, and just kind of wishing, man, I wish I was married. Wish I could have the benefits of marriage. Wish I could have a companion that I could be locked in the house with. And if you're not careful, man, doing the pandemic by yourself could impact your mental health in a very drastic and negative way. So like I said, I'm grateful. I'm grateful. For me, it was not as bad as it could have been, simply because of the other things that I had going on, but it was a challenge, and it did have some challenging moments.
Wow. Must be tough. Brittany,
Yeah.
give us the real. Give us the real.
I'm gonna give y'all the real. I'm gonna try and keep it as PG. If y'all know me, I like to just, I'm pretty blunt, especially when it comes to stuff like this. But I'm someone who actually did relocate in the middle of the pandemic. So I relocated from my hometown with my parents all the way across to the other side of North Carolina. So my parents are on the Virginia border, and now I'm on the South Carolina border. So I'm someone who relocated. Didn't know many people here in Charlotte. When I first relocated out here, I definitely was more focused on work. As Chris said, work was definitely something that I was more focused on in this new chapter in my life, trying to readjust, living by myself. Listen, I had a lot of stuff to readjust to, but it's true. When you're in a new city, when you're in a new place, and you're in a pandemic, you get kind of lonely. You know, first of all, I don't really have many girlfriends out here. I don't know really many people out here, and we're in a pandemic. The people that I do know really aren't trying to go out like that because they're not comfortable, which you know, stuff that you understand. So for me, when it came to dating, I was someone who did gravitate towards more so like the dating apps, specifically one app. I'm not gonna say apps with an S. It was one app, and it was Black. And I have met a few people from that dating app. I have actually dated some people from that app. I would say maybe like 2 people I've actually met and actually established somewhat of a relationship with. One takeaway though, I would say being mindful of where your headspace is at when you go looking for someone to talk to romantically. Personally, the first time I had downloaded the app was not something that I had consistently, but it was something that I downloaded in a state and in a season of frustration. I was frustrated. My relationship with God was not where it at one point in time was. Honestly and truthfully, your girl was not herself whatsoever. And instead of really digging into my relationship with God, I was tired. It had been one year. It had been a wild ride, 2020 for me. So towards the latter end of 2020 is when I went ahead and downloaded the app. And the caliber of a man that I was looking for at the time when I downloaded the app was not the caliber of a man that most people would see me with and that I would see myself with. And I found myself in a position where I was negotiating my non-negotiables. Like I have a list of, things that I desire in a partner. And then everyone has those non-negotiables that you just cannot, like, if you don't possess these traits, we can't move forward. If we're not on one accord with certain things, there's just no, we're not aligning. And I found myself in a position where I was negotiating those things that were like very important to me. A relationship with God, a spiritual connection, being able to pray together. Baby, boy was fine. Let me tell you, the man was fine. But that's all he was bringing to the table was that he was fine. And that was a realization that God really had to, hit your girl upside the head with. Like, baby, these are things that you want and that you tell me every day on your knees that you want, you pray for, but he's not possessing any of those things. He's just cute. So then I found myself in a position where, okay, I'm distracted now. So, it was a short-lived relationship. But yeah, that's something for me. I have not really been in a relationship since then. Dating life really hasn't changed for me because I really haven't been someone that dated that much anyway. But I would say I found myself using the dating apps more than prior to.
Okay. Thank you both for being real, and thank you for sharing. I think there's somebody out there may be able to relate with you. If you're out there single and you're watching this and you can relate, give us some comments, give us some feedback, give us some questions. We want to hear from you. Now, I'm going to come back to you all with some questions, but let's go to the married folk. The grizzled veterans, the people who've been together for a while. And the pandemic was different for you too. Even as married folk, there was a time you can get away, but now you were kind of trapped together. Let's go to the J&O show first. Jermaine and Onika.
Mhm.
Tell us about married life during the pandemic.
You want to start?
You can start.
She let me start. For us, I believe the most difficult thing for us, I would say, was the homeschooling.
Yes.
Yeah, becoming a teacher's assistant overnight was interesting.
Yeah. Literally.
Yeah, it was very interesting. Me and my wife, I have the relationship with her where I don't need a lot of away time. I need a little, but not a lot. So for us, like, there was no stress or tension on our relationship being around each other more. At least not for me. I don't want to speak for you. I don't want to speak for you.
I'll let them know.
But I think the hardest thing was the homeschooling and how that sort of had to take a precedent over a lot of the other things that we're doing as far as businesses that we're trying to do, even the J&O show. It just made things a little bit harder because a lot more of my time specifically was taken up having to become the teacher's assistant.
Right.
And, you know, everybody ain't blessed with that patience.
Yes. God bless you, teachers.
Bless the teachers. Because, I mean, just seeing things behind the scenes of what they have to deal with, especially with younger ones, you know,
Right.
6 and 8. So you have a kindergartner, you have a second grader.
Mm-hmm.
So it's very interesting to see what they have to deal with. And then you have to be present with the kindergartner because they've never been in a structured classroom environment before.
Mm-hmm.
And now they're getting it online when I'm at home and my sister's in the next room and I want to play. So I think that was probably the hardest thing that brought the most stress, at least for me personally. As far as me and my wife, you know, I'm gonna give her props. Like, I felt we were doing good. You know, I could have missed something, you know, in translation, because sometimes, you know, it's this, you do this right here and you miss translation. But that was probably the hardest thing for me. And getting through it, it was just, you know, a lot of conversations between my wife and I, telling her my frustrations, you know, allowing the thing that wives do, you know, comforting me and helping to keep me focused. That was the thing that I think probably really kept me from going crazy. And, well, I don't have no hair to tear out, but maybe I would have thrown my beard out. I don't know. So I don't know if there's anything you want to add to that.
No, I mean, I co-sign.
Okay.
I co-sign that.
All right.
No, we have a great friendship. That's the foundation of our relationship because we were friends first.
Yeah.
We met when I was like 14. Yeah, we met 14, 15 years old. Yeah. So we were friends first. And we get along really great. So we're blessed and fortunate in that respect. We know everybody doesn't necessarily have that. And we do know some people are going crazy.
Driving each other crazy.
But we were actually good. The main things were, like Jay mentioned, was just trying to do the balancing act with everybody being home, like trying to figure out how to homeschool, work, do the J&O show, do this, do that, basically all at once, and still try to find time for one another.
Right.
You would think that being at home all the time together, that you would be spending a lot of time together, but it was actually the opposite.
Yeah, it's very hard.
Yeah, just trying to balance everything, spending time doing what we needed to do with the kids and everything else. So.
Oh, and one thing that I would like to throw in, one thing that was already mentioned when he was talking about how work was helping him to keep himself occupied and focused. For me, I in the J&O show, we're going to say it a million times. So if you ever see it, you will hear this over and over again. Purpose.
Yes.
Being in purpose, the purpose for which you were put here on this earth is the everything. And a lot of people don't really fully comprehend how big and important that is in your life. And to be honest, your purpose here on earth takes precedence over everything else, even your mate. So you want to talk about being focused and things of that nature. It is a huge thing that I didn't know growing up, to be honest. I didn't come to that realization until I was much older about how big a role purpose has in your life. And if you want to talk about something helping you, concentrating on your purpose or finding your purpose is one of those things that can help, because that was probably even more than our conversations and our coming together. I think that was probably the thing that really helped us to stay sane, just being stuck in the house.
Wow.
Just trying to be on purpose, trying to be like, okay, God, what am I supposed to be learning? What am I supposed to be doing? What wasn't I supposed to be doing? Because for us, when the pandemic hit, we were moving to Atlanta. Like we was about to pack the
Yeah.
house up. We had already put down a deposit on the movers. Like we were going to be gone, and we stopped everything and ended up staying in Charlotte another year. So it became, okay, so why was it that this happened that we didn't end up moving to Atlanta? Because we were going to, like, right as they put everything in quarantine, that's when we were supposed to move. So so that for us, that's what it really became. All right, what are we supposed to be doing right now? God, can we get some direction? What are we supposed to be learning right now? And that took up a lot of the mental space, which didn't allow you to sink too much into the, you know, how harsh the environment was starting to become because you're, you know, quarantined.
Okay. Wow, that's a lot. That's a lot. My single folk are like, I don't want to get married. But, but I do appreciate you keeping it real and sharing it. All right. My sister, Shayla Parker. All right. The pandemic hit and you're at home with 2 growing boys and your husband. Let's talk about being married during the pandemic. Why don't you share a little bit of the real on your experience?
Where do I begin? Yeah, so if I'm being honest, the pandemic came at an interesting, different time for me. So I had just lost my mother in January. And so I think I took off 2 or 3 weeks from work. So I was out of work, you know, for a greater part of February. And then we get to March, excuse my background, everybody. And then we get to March, and all of a sudden they're peeling back the kids going to school. And then they're peeling back work hours. You know, we're coming in for half a day and then spending the other day home. And the next thing you know, it's okay, everybody's going home. The kids aren't coming back. So for us, that was an interesting experience. I can honestly say that I probably wasn't present for the greater part of January to probably June of 2020, stemming from mom's death and then this pandemic. It was a lot. So I'm not sure I was too present. Sean could probably attest to that. But having to rethink your daily actions with an 11-year-old who's in 5th grade, getting ready to, you know, transition, and then a middle schooler, it was a whole lot. It was trying to navigate using the computer. What in the world is all the apps that they had to use? And then me being the director of my department, everybody was looking to me as to what to do. How do we work from home? What do we need? I don't have a laptop. I don't have a cell phone. It was a lot. So managing that part of it, and then trying to also manage being home, keeping your family together. It was a lot. Now, Sean had a little bit of a different experience, and I'm not trying to speak for him, but I see he hasn't gotten back on yet, because as a therapist, his schedule, he can, you know, he's home and then he's not. So for the 3 of us, for my children and myself who were home, I am sure we invaded his time because, you know, we were all on the computer. You know, I was on a meeting every 2 seconds and it was lagging, and it was just a lot. So I think for a greater part of that, for me, again, I wasn't even really present. I was focused on, okay, I have to figure out how to get my department back on track so that they, you know, can do their job as all the purchasing slides through our area. We got to get this done. So that was a major thing because, you know, I was on the phone with my bosses. And so that was a huge part in the very, very beginning. And then when school got together, it was, okay, oh, we got to buy the kids laptops. So let's go order laptops, which were on back order everywhere in America. So it was, oh, we got to get laptops so the kids can get on and they can log into their classes. And then it was, oh, how do you work Canvas? So that homeschool thing, that learning, it was just so much. And it really just, there were days where I would just go outside. I don't even like being outside. Let me start with that. And I ended up buying a patio set for the backyard because that was my only way of getting just a little bit of peace, even if it was for 15 minutes for the day.
Wow.
So, you know, that part was just different. Very, very interesting, but doable, but very interesting.
Wow. Hey, but look, the good news is at least you got proficient at TikTok. I'm a witness. Come on now.
I cannot. Yes. That was some spare time too.
Yes. Well, I thank everybody for sharing. I'm gonna come back to Sean later. Sean is driving now, and we don't need an accident on No Ordinary Love. So we're gonna wait for you to park, brother, and we're gonna get right back to you, Sean, so you can share your side of your marriage experience. Now, good evening, everyone. We've had several people join us on Facebook and YouTube, those who are watching live. Thank you for watching us. We're asking everyone to share this on their page, to tell a friend, to bring someone in as we talk about dating, relationships, and marriage during the pandemic, entitled No Ordinary Love. Now let's get to the meat of something, because our time is really slipping away from us. I have a question for everybody. Everybody can answer this, and I'm curious about it, particularly within the Black community. There seems to be a moving away of some traditional ideas that we had when we were brought up when it comes to marriage, dating, watch this, abstinence, things of the sort. My question to you all is, do young adults still want to pursue holiness while dating? And even within marriage, do you want a holy marriage? Let me explain what I'm talking about. Now more than ever, people are talking about testing out the machinery before they buy it. Do I need to break that down anymore? I think you get what I'm talking about. This is an all-time high of side chicks and side dudes. Somebody talk to me. It's become like, no, there used to be a time you were kind of ashamed of being the side chick or the side dude. Now there are whole YouTube channels dedicated to the etiquette of being a side chick or a side dude. And the question that I want to ask my esteemed panelists, are people still pursuing righteousness when it comes to dating and marriage? Or is that a concept that's outdated? And I want you to be honest about how you feel on that. I won't call on anyone. Jump on if you want to answer that.
I don't mind going first. Hopefully you guys can hear me. My air did just come on, so hopefully you guys can still hear me. But in my experience, I'm not going to talk for my entire generation. I am 23 years old. I did just graduate from college in 2019. So this is kind of a topic that I feel, I'm not gonna lie, I feel like I could really speak on. Like I said, I'm not gonna speak for my entire generation, but in my personal experience, as someone who has chosen to wait for marriage, I have a whole chapter. Remember that book I was telling y'all about? I have a whole chapter dedicated to my experience with men not really rocking with a woman who is abstinent. I would say part of the reason why I haven't had much relationship experience is because once you tell somebody that you're waiting, it's like, excuse me, waiting for what? You know? So, yeah, that whole concept of I got to test drive the car before, I buy it off the lot. It's very prevalent in today's society. And it's something that I have really struggled with when it comes to dating, finding a man who is already mentally in that space where it's like, I, as a man, am choosing to wait for marriage, not because of me trying to force him or, and I feel like within the realms of dating, because I've dated a lot of people, that's one of my non-negotiables that I found myself negotiating, just, dealing with someone who is more sexual, and is desiring sex. People tend to go into a relationship with someone such as myself with the mentality of, yeah, I respect it. I like that. But I'm also going to change that. It's not going to stay like that. We're not going to pursue this relationship and be in this relationship for months or years and not be having sex. So that is something that I have in my own personal experience.
Do you feel firmly in the minority as someone who is, so do you feel like an alien?
A who?
An alien.
An alien?
Yeah.
Sometimes,
Just,
That's
Okay.
actually something that, because I was having that conflict so much, I was like, all right, do I really want to continue pursuing this? That was something that I really had to sit down and consider. And for a good second there, I lost my why. And for a second there, I forgot, why am I even waiting for marriage? Like, what is the reason why I am? Especially now that I'm 23 and out of school and dealing with older men and grown men. I mean, to be completely honest, it is something that I have had to really question and wonder, like, all right, why are you doing this? What is the reason behind doing this? And had to regroup on, because it is something that almost got compromised for me.
Okay. Let's get some else in there. Let's get some else in there. Anybody?
Well, I guess as the only other single person, I'll go ahead and go. You know, I think the answer is probably in the question. I think it's probably been a lot of our observation. The tide does seem to be changing. The culture seems to be changing. I would argue, especially in urban areas, especially in places like right here in Atlanta, people are not as focused on marital long-term commitment. A lot of people are more focused on what they can get out of the relationship right now in this moment. And I would argue, I think it's a reaction. I think it's a reaction. I think people for so long have tried to engage in healthy relationships, kind of in the way they see it, in the way that our parents taught us, and the way that the church taught us. And a lot of people have found that from a pragmatic perspective, it doesn't seem to work for them. I know I have numerous female friends who I talk to very often, who are abstinent, who've always been abstinent. And, you know, to their surprise, you know, they're in their 30s, you know, nearing their 40s, some of them nearing their 40s, things like that. And to their surprise, a lot of them have never been married. A lot of them aren't even close to being married. And I think what's been most surprising for them is the fact that what they were taught for a long time.
They thought it was the magic wand.
It was the magic wand. That if you do it God's way, then you will be blessed with your husband, that he will come soon, that he will be a quality man, et cetera, et cetera. Absolutely. And so I think a lot of people are saying, man, I tried it and I don't see any fruit from
Chris,
it.
let me jump in on that. I am seeing church people turn on that vehemently. One of the most surprising thing I've seen from some Christian young ladies in the Black community is the complete rejection of, what do they call it? Purity culture. Because it's not that the teachings weren't virtuous. The rejection I'm seeing is it didn't work. Y'all told me I get a husband from this. Y'all told me I'd be married. Now I'm 40. I got a degree. I got a great job. I got a dope house. I got 5 dogs, 2 cats, but I ain't got no husband.
My God.
You know what I mean? And so go ahead. I didn't mean to cut you off, brother.
No, I agree with you 100%. So, you know, I think my theory, I don't know if there's an answer to it. I don't know if our culture is going to, you know, swing back in the other direction. But, you know, my prayer, my hope is that people will see the benefits of abstinence. For instance, the harsh reality is if you are in a relationship with somebody and you are engaging with them sexually, it affects your ability, it affects your judgment. It affects your bias. It's a little hard to see clearly, you know, when that thing is so good, you know, that person becomes a little more appealing, and sometimes you won't notice red flags, right? And so I think what we really need to do is just tap into some of the practical and pragmatic. I like what you said a second ago. Tap into our why, you know, and I think for a lot of us, the why is scriptural, the why is spiritual, but I think the why is also very practical and pragmatic.
Very good, very good. Bro, Parker, you jumped back in. You're here. You're a married man. You're a married man. Is it possible to be married and holy? Can you be married and holy on the For You page on TikTok, on the search page on Instagram? Is there a pool of side chicks on your job? Testify, bro, Parker. Tell us, is it possible to be married and holy?
It depends how. I think there's, as they say, there's levels to this. I think that there are always going to be things out there right now. Social media is not social media anymore. It is not a place where you go and chat it up with people that you haven't seen in 20 years. It's not a place where you go and find food recipes. It's a place where the silhouette challenge pop up and you get to clicking, and it's like, oh. So don't it turns
I never heard
into,
of that. What's that? I never heard of that.
I'll text you on the side. But seriously, like these things are so prevalent in our society now. You can go and just very simple stuff. For example, I think on Instagram, I'm always into sports and basketball and things like that, and was clicking on some stuff and saw a basketball page, but the female basketball player just so happened to be like a lingerie model. And I was like, wait, what? So things suck you in so easily now. So I think that we as a culture have become less reliant on biblical teachings on God. I think right now many of us are making it, to say the least. It's one of those things as a big guy, for example. That's like me going to going to a place where I thought was appropriate. I'm going to Whole Foods, and just so happened that McDonald's is throwing their party at Whole Foods and got McBurgers all over the place. Like, that's kind of life now. It's like, as much as you are trying to be in a certain place, whether it's a good place, whether it's a bad place, whether it's work, whether it's Facebook, whether it's whatever, you're going to be faced with things. So can you stay holy? Yes, I do think absolutely you have to be aware of what you allow in your mind. I think a lot of times we forget that kind of old adage of being aware of what we allow our eyes to see and our ears to hear, because those things can get us caught up at times. But I do think it's more difficult, but I think it's possible.
Okay. What say you, Onika and Jermaine?
There's so much to unpack in this question. Just to touch on a couple different things. So one of the things when Brittany was talking about, being abstinent and saving herself for marriage, that was actually a show topic that we did, because I don't know if you guys ever watched, what's the name of the show?
Married at First Sight.
Married at First Sight. There was a particular season where they had, I think she was 30. It was a big deal because she was 30 and she was a virgin. And, she was saving herself basically for marriage. And the premise of the show basically is that you meet someone and you literally, like, if you guys connect, you marry at first sight. The first time you actually see them is when they're walking down the aisle. Like, you date and everything basically behind closed doors, like you don't see this person. And so this particular young lady, excuse me, it was almost like she was being pressured. It's like, okay, now you're married to this guy, which they had I think like a 2-month or 3-month window or something like that, where they can get it annulled if they didn't want to stay with each other. But they lived together and everything like that after they got married. And it was almost like they were pressuring her to go ahead and sleep with the guy, just because now they're technically legally married. But she had been saving herself for so many years. And she had an issue connecting with him on a physical level, not them actually having intercourse, but just, what's the word I'm looking for? She had a hard time basically being in touch with her sexuality. And it was very evident in the show. And one of the reasons why we talked about it is because growing up in the church, we're always taught, that you want to remain abstinent and you want to save yourself for marriage, but nobody really talks about what that looks like after. It's like, okay, now you get married. What are you supposed to do? You've never been intimate with a person. And then it's like, okay, now you're supposed to go do this all the time with your husband, and you're just supposed to be comfortable with it. So it's just like, I think that in our society, we are bombarded with a lot of, what's the word I'm looking for?
Messages.
it's just we're bombarded with a lot of different images of what sexuality should look like, and it's almost perverted a lot of times. And I think that when it comes to trying to keep it holy, I guess, quote unquote, because you see all of these different images as far as what it should look like, how you should carry yourself, the way you should be, with the person you're in a relationship with, it's hard for people who are actually trying to do things according to a biblical context, where they can date and not necessarily be intimate with one another, but still be intimate, if that makes sense.
Yeah, and we've been hoodwinked. We have completely been tricked when it comes to sexuality, because we gave it over to the devil. Like, peep this. God made sex.
True.
He made it to feel good.
Mm-hmm.
He made it for you to want it. But we've repressed it. We've made it nasty and secret and dirty. And many of us learned what sex was and a sexual relationship was from the streets, from music videos, where our first interaction with body parts were magazines or songs. And we've just completely leashed it to the devil. And we have to find some way for youth and young adults for us to take that back and let people understand the beauty of it. Because even within marriage, there is a lot of dysfunction when it comes to sexuality, particularly for somebody who may be addicted to pornography and they're getting their ideas of sex about that. For somebody who has a poor body image and they don't really know what to do, that can be an issue. Shayla, I don't want to leave you out on this topic. Is it possible to date, be married, and be married and be holy in these days and times? Give us a little something on that.
Yeah, and I'm just kind of dittoing what everyone else has kind of said. I think it is possible, yes, to answer the question. I think it makes it challenging because the world doesn't make marriage holy anymore. I mean, it's just like Onika said. You have a whole reality show where Married at First Sight. Okay, so marriage is one of the holiest institutions that we were given by God. But now it's a reality show where I'm getting married and I'm meeting you the moment I'm walking down the aisle. It just trivializes the whole idea of marriage. And then now it's also, well, if we don't get along, I'm out. Divorce, just easy in and out. I'll marry this person. And if I'm not happy, whatever, well, divorce is fine. It's good. I'll get half, go on my merry way, marry somebody else. So, I mean, I do think that it is possible, but I think it comes before you're married. So when you are dating and when you are courting, assuming everybody still does that, you have to set that precedence at that time. You can't go into marriage not being holy and then expect that when you get married, your marriage is going to be holy. So it's all about that foundation you create while you are still in the dating, courting stage. But yeah, the world is against us in the sense of marriage is trivial.
Did you just say you was taking half? Y'all heard that right?
All right. That was Shayla Parker, by the way, everybody. Now listen, we've gotten this discussion going and we don't have much time left. I don't want to keep you on all night, but I do want to address a topic that comes up in the Black community when it comes to young adults. Is there a shortage of men? All right. Is there a shortage of men? Everybody can answer this. And how should that affect dating and marriage? We hear this all the time. Derek Jackson got something to say about that. Kevin Samuels got something to say about that. Okay, look at Chris. Chris, like, my man. Kevin Samuels got something to say about that. All right. But my question to all of you all, is there truly a shortage of men? Are people looking in the wrong places? You wanted me at the wrong time. Back in the day, I was a square. I was a nerd. You didn't want me then. You wanted the thug. And now that I've come up, but you got 2 kids and stuff, you want me now. Y'all break down to me what's going on. Somebody give me the real about the ratio between men and women in the young adult Black community.
Oddly enough, I just finished doing a study paper on this. So it's very interesting that you brought that up. And I think one of the conclusions that I came up with is I wouldn't say there's a shortage of men necessarily. I would say let's say there's a shortage of good options. That's more so and I'm gonna say good options because of certain standards. I will speak from, this is going back to my single days. Sorry, Shayla, and some of my homeboys that I used to run with, not naming any names, but one may be on here. There are times when we would ride around, and I don't care if.
Hold on, man. Hey, don't bring me in this mess, man.
I'm not. But the point is, I think men are a little less concerned about where a female may be in life. I'll put it that way. Many times there are, and just kind of doing research and talking, men have less concerns about a woman's how much money they make, what the occupations are, things like that, than did the women. It was, I think, if I remember correctly, it was 75% of women who felt that education and job was atop of their list. And it was like 30% of the men. So I think when you start talking about options, it's more of that thing. It's like, okay, what are we looking for? We're looking for somebody in this category. If I just wanted a random Joe Schmo, I think that options are out there. Because all the single women, Brittany, for example, how many times have you gotten hit on probably in the last week? So the options are there. You can't say that the men aren't there. It's the choice that you have. That's the difference.
Let's let her speak for herself. Brittany, okay? Now we're talking brothers here. All right. We got to do part 2 and 3 about interracial relationships. We'll do that on another episode, okay? Brittany, is there a shortage of brothers out there?
I agree with Sean. There's plenty black men, plenty fine black men, plenty single black men, but the caliber of the man that you would maybe want to marry, men of God, there's a reason why, I don't know if you guys know this, whenever there's a single man of God, women flock. Like women in the church, we flock to that single man of God. There's a reason, and it's because there really isn't that many options regarding a quality man of God, man after God's own heart, a man that you would really want to consider yoking yourself to. Wait
a minute. I'm hearing 2 things though. I'm hearing there's plenty of men, but there's not good options. But if he's a man of God, he got to be fine. I mean, help me understand.
That's not what I'm saying. I do think it is important that you are attracted to the person that you are going to be in a relationship with. That is, that's important. There's a reason why God gives us attraction. And if you're not physically attracted to the person that you're dating, then, I just don't think that's as wise. Now, I'm not going to sit here and say, choose the finer man over the, you know what? Let me say it this way. There's 2 different types of fine. There's fine in looks, but then there's a finer man, as in fine in quality, fine in what he brings to the table. Like a fine type, fine china that's expensive, that's just like, it's rare. There's that type of man. So there's 2 different types of fine. What type of fine do you want? What type of fine are you looking for?
Well, I'm not looking for no man, so don't ask me that. All right, let's hear from somebody else. Is there a shortage? Let's talk about the ratio. Is there a shortage of good black men to women? Floor is open.
Yeah, I'm thinking about it. I wish I had data. I was trying to look up a little something real quick, but just I want to be careful about just definitively, saying that there is a shortage. However, when I look anecdotally, when I look around, it certainly seems like there's a shortage. And obviously that's not coming from my perspective. This is based on my conversations with my female friends. I hear them say it all the time. that it definitely feels like there's a shortage. And then when I look at, the fact that, and when we're talking about, Black men, when I look at the fact that so many of our Black men are taken by the system, right, and are in prison, and so many of our Black men, are unemployed. If that's something that you value, which I suggest you should, but
that makes you real fine.
I know, right? I'm like, how's that a competition for me? I'm not understanding these days. No, I'm seriously. I hear all the time about so many young Black men, including young Black men in their 30s, that are, staying with somebody, smoking weed, playing video games all day, and it's just like, so I hear you all. I certainly, just when I look around, it does seem, and we're talking again, when we're talking about Black men, I mean, you made the pool small if your preference or what you tend to be attracted to is a Black man. We're only 13 as a population, Black men and women. We're only 13% of the population. So you made the pool smaller. Then when you factor in Black men who are dying, it's smaller. Black men who are incarcerated, is smaller. Black men, if this is important for you, who are heterosexual, it gets even smaller. Black men who are not taken, it gets even smaller. And then add on top of that, a Black man who is in the Lord. I mean, like
it's 6 of them.
That's about 6 of them walking around, right? I mean, y'all are looking for unicorns, and my heart goes out to you. My heart goes out to you. So, like I said, it definitely feels like it. And I would be remiss if I didn't say, I'd like to appeal, to us Black men, us single Black men out there, man. We got to rise up, man. We got to do better. We got to make ourselves. We can't just hyper focus on what we are looking for in a woman, but we have to ground ourselves in who we need to be as a quality man for women. And that's
okay, Chris, I'm gonna put you on the spot on something.
Yeah.
All right, and you're my dog, so this ain't personal. Okay.
Yeah. Mm-hmm.
About 10 times a night, you've mentioned my female friends, my female friends, my female friends, my female friends.
Yeah.
All right? How many of them are single? And real talk, how many of them want you, man? Like, how many of them, if they do or not, okay?
Yeah.
So, and let's just be clear. Let's let the cat out of the bag, everybody. The ratio is in our favor, okay?
Yeah.
I ain't been single since I've been 12.
Yeah.
Okay? The minute I hit a growth spurt and turned 12, and Sean Parker was there, his wife witnessed most of this.
Yeah.
I ain't been single since.
Yeah.
I'm talking about 5, 6 options if I wanted to. Okay. I've matured a little bit and changed my ways. But what I'm saying to you is, now that you're a single man, middle-aged, employed, I follow you on social media. You out to eat with 5, 6 girls all the time.
I'm not middle-aged, by the way. Let me make that very clear. I am not middle-aged. Your boy's still young, all right? I'm 31. Let me set that record straight.
You're a young guy. You're a young guy. How many of them are waiting in line, Chris?
Yeah, so to be honest with you, I'd love answering this question transparently. All the female friends that I am referring to are all platonic friendships that I value. I do tend to have a lot of female friends just because, I have 3 sisters, and for some reason I've always done better with female friendships. I do have some guy friends who I value very, very deeply, but I also appreciate the perspective that females are able to give. I appreciate the level of emotional intelligence that they have. You said what?
I bet they appreciate you too. I know.
So we're talking. I'm not gonna lie. So I do have a few that actually may have started romantically, and it just at some point we just identified that there were some key things that we would not work. We would not work as a boyfriend or girlfriend. We would not work as husband and wife. But we make really, really good friends. I can honestly say, out of all the female friends that I was thinking about, that I was referencing a second ago, not a single one of them are ones that, want me, and I'm here stringing them along and talking to them every day, but I don't really want them. No, I wouldn't do that.
And let me be clear about something with Chris. Chris is a straight up dude. Okay. Chris is not a player. It's these people who are friends. Yeah, come on, man. He mutually, they pour into each other's life. He's all around good dude. Now let me ask something to the married people about this ratio. I think we all can agree it's skewed Black men to Black women. But if you're married and you got you a Black man or you got you a Black woman, should you take that for granted? What should be your mindset that you got the ring or you're in it? Because a lot of divorce and dysfunction takes place because I don't think people are reading the room right. I think people are like, they're not treating what they have as something that beat the odds or as exceptional. And when you treat someone regular and the ratio's out of whack, there's 10 people nowadays lined up to do what you won't do. So let's break that down a little bit, married folk. Unpack that for me. What do you think about what I just shared in light of the ratio? And even single folk, what do you think about that? Anybody?
J&O, y'all going?
Okay. Okay. I guess for me and for Onika, we talk about not taking each other for granted. That's a conversation we have often. And I guess that would be the first thing, talk often, talk candidly, because that is a real thing that happens in any relationship. Think about it. When you're dating, every time that you see this person, there's an entire thing that has to happen. There's a whole ritual. You got to get dressed. You got to get clean. You have to clear out your schedule. You have to focus only on them. But when you get married, they're just there now. You don't have to do a regimen. You don't have to get ready. You don't even got to brush your teeth. They're there.
Just come as you are.
And what happens is, in the beginning, there's an excitement, but that begins to wane. And eventually, they're just there. And there's no ritual to remind you this is a special occasion. This is something that you're grooming yourself to do. And what tends to happen with people, and this is not just a marriage thing, but just with other people, as your relationship matures with them, that's when you start to take them for granted. And they talk about, hey, don't stop doing the date nights. Don't stop doing this and that and all of those things. But the biggest thing is you have to communicate with each other. And you have to be honest with each other about the differences between men and women. We, even as men and women, those broad categories, there are universal differences between men and women that are both physical, spiritual, mental, and emotional. We don't even read information the same way. It goes through our brains through different pathways. So we have to acknowledge all of those differences and have conversations with each other candidly. What do you need from me? And what is it that I need from you? And how can we make this happen? Because a lot of people end up missing it because they think that the person that they're married to is thinking what they're thinking, how they're thinking. And that is not the case.
All right. Let's get some more. Parkers?
So I think during this pandemic, I think that heightened. I can just probably say that for me, right? So when you are home and you're with your spouse all day, every day, as we were in the beginning, you forget the habits.
Okay, we lost her. Pick up the mantle for your wife. Go ahead, Sean.
Yeah, I'm gonna pick it up, and it probably be totally different from what she was about to say. But yeah, I think being around someone all day, every day, it actually went in probably reverse, as far as it became more of this is a regiment that we're going through because of the kids, because of this, because of whatever. You would have thought it would have been like, okay, we're around each other more. It's going to open up for more of these opportunities, where in actuality, it almost turned into you got more busy and more complacent with things like that. But Shayla,
hold on, Sean. We lost you, Sean. Go ahead, Shayla. We lost you, Shayla, for a second. Go ahead, finish your thought.
Sorry about that. I don't know what happened, but I'm trying to figure out where I was going with that. No, but what I was saying was, so when you were so when you were home with your spouse for that extended period of time, you sort of forgot the habits that they had that maybe annoyed you, so to speak, for lack of a better word. And so being around it frequently, more than you normally would be, of course, raises your attention. But I think also what it did was, for me, let me speak for me, it was sort of self revealing for me. It was a self revelation that I had with myself. And I remember we were talking about different things. And so initially, like I said, you know, when you first got home, was like, oh, great, we're going to do this and we're going to have lunch and we're going to do, yeah, that didn't happen. That for us, that didn't really happen. We were springing into work and springing into kids. And then, you know, in passing, kind of still in passing, we were rediscovering those same habits that maybe annoyed us. And that's okay, because you're not going to be.
Okay. So I think I understand what she was saying, and she made a lot of good points. The pandemic made us face our demons. Whether you're married or single, it made you face your demons head on. If you had a masturbation issue before the pandemic, you really got one now. Okay. If you had a drinking issue before the pandemic, you really got one now. If you were going through something with your spouse, you couldn't run away from it. It was in your face. And I just think that when we start talking about the ratio of Black men to Black women, if you're married and you got somebody, turn up the appreciation. Turn up the appreciation, particularly for your Black man. All right. I'm not saying that, you know, I'm not on that Kevin Samuels tip that we're the most valuable piece and everything like that.
I was getting ready to say that.
I didn't say that. I didn't say that. But hold on. You beat the odds, Black woman. Let's be honest. You beat the odds. And like I said earlier, side chick culture is real. Let me call it another thing. Work wife culture is real. Okay. Deaconess bringing you a plate of food culture is real. Okay. And I just think that we have to understand, and we got to start normalizing us talking about sex within the marriage context. In marriage, the only person you can go to for sex and be holy is your spouse. That's the only person you can go to for it. So if that's something that's optional, or that's something that's being denied, you are literally starving your marriage, and you're showing a lack of appreciation on any fact. If you lived through this and didn't die, and you're still married, there should be a sense of appreciation. Okay, if you are single and live for this, and you're not on the HIV ward, talk to me, somebody. Okay. You're not always going somewhere to get a shot. You still have your mind. You can be like Chris and Brittany and be on a panel like this and give people advice, and everybody in the comments sucking their teeth. Okay? That means you're ahead of the game. Salute to you. Salute. If you're still married, cherish what you have, because there are people that will pay to be in your spot. Okay? There are people that pay to be in your spot. We have to wrap up. One thing about programs like this is that if it's too long, people won't come back for the next one. And we've had a lot of viewers on YouTube. We have viewers on Facebook, on 2 platforms, the South Atlantic and my own personal page. And we thank you so much for watching this. If you're watching this as a replay, we are grateful. We are grateful that you took time to come back and watch this. And it will be available on Facebook and YouTube anytime you want to watch it. We're actually going to try to get it on the JNO page as well. Before we leave, I want to hear from each of our panelists. And I want you to just give some game to somebody out there. Somebody's watching this, and they need to know why love is not something that's ordinary, that it's worth it to pursue God's way. It's worth it. It's worth it to still. They've given up on that during the pandemic, and they've settled as a single person. They've gotten sour on their marriage. And I need each and every one of you to just speak some life into somebody. Give somebody a tip. Give somebody something that they can really, really sink their teeth in. And then if you have any comments or questions, put it in the comments. We'll try to read a few of those before we go. Who would like to give some advice for singles or advice for married people?
I guess I'll go ahead and start with the advice for married people. I think the big thing is, and you touched on it earlier, is appreciation. Um, Appreciation for what you have, appreciation for someone who knows you inside and out, appreciation for the one who can put up with certain habits that you don't have to worry about leaking out to others. I think that's the one thing that, as glorious as some people may take the dating thing, blah, blah, it's stressful not being able to fully be yourself, and I think being able to appreciate the fact that you can be who you are and someone chose to love you despite your faults and despite those things is something that I think you can always take to bed with you. That's the thing that will prevent you from going to bed angry or staying upset with somebody, because you say, you know what, despite my faults, and not to sound preachy or like it's like the Lord, it's despite my faults, despite my errors, this person loves me anyway. We can't be mad at that. And I think that's one of the things that when we start talking about marriages and things to cherish, we grab hold of that idea.
Excellent, my brother. Excellent. Advice for married folk, advice for singles. Talk to us, somebody.
I think the biggest advice that I'd give to singles is there's a passage in 1 Corinthians chapter 7 that's a little controversial, but I think the essence of what Paul is saying in that text is to be grateful for whatever season that you are in. And so that is whether you are married or whether you are single, be grateful for that season. Believe it or not, there are pros and cons to every season. I know sometimes it seems like marriage is the ultimate goal, but there's a beauty in singleness. And I can attest right now as a single man, and some of y'all, if you would do an inventory and you do an assessment, you would realize that there are some blessings in the singleness that you're in right now. I know, you're struggling to find somebody. I know you might prefer to be with somebody, but man, being single is not so bad after all. I mean, I love the fact that I have the freedom and the liberty to make my own decisions. I don't have to bring my decisions to a committee anytime I want to get up and go. I don't have to pack whole bags and backpacks for half humans that are walking behind me, or I don't have to wait on a spouse to get dressed because they don't get dressed as fast as I do. There is a blessing. I'm just saying. I know some of y'all are hating on this, but I just want to encourage you to that what will allow you to overcome the temptation to be depressed during the season of singleness is to make sure that you appreciate and you have gratitude for the season that you're in right now.
Awesome. Awesome. Advice for married folk, advice for singles. Let's hear from you.
I just want to piggyback off of what Chris was saying, that, singleness, is beautiful. There's a beauty to singleness, and it is something that we should be stewarding over. And I think a lot of times singleness can get a bad rep. If you're single and you're not married, if you're at a certain age and you're still single, it can get a bad rep. But I've learned one thing that I feel like God spoke to me, because I was somebody who was like, I need to be married. God told me this body's my husband. And it's something I fixated over. But one thing that I had to learn, that if I am still single, that's because there's something and there's work and there's assignments that God wants me to do and that God has for you to do in your season of singleness. There's things to do before you reach or enter into that stage of marriage. And that's something to be celebratory over. So just being mindful and making sure that you are stewarding over your season of singleness is very important, and making sure that you're not really fixating or making an idol out of being married, and not allowing that to be something that rushes you and that you move in haste in because you're tired of being single and you're fixated on marriage. Next thing you know, you're in something, you found yourself in a place that you weren't necessarily ready for.
Wow. Wow. Advice for single people, advice for married couples. Let's hear from you.
I'm going to go quick before I get cut off. But I just have two quick things to say. One, prayer, much, much, much prayer. And I know that's probably, people think that's, everybody says that, but prayer. And the second is love yourself. Know who you are, know whose you are, and know where you are going and what you are doing. Remember that part. Whether you're in a marriage or whether you're single, you simply cannot pour from an empty cup. So you need to know yourself. You need to love yourself. You need to understand yourself and your faults, regardless of whether you're married or single. Like I said, an empty cup can't fill empty cups. And stay in prayer.
That's heavy. That's heavy. That's heavy. All right. And I think we'll wrap up with the J&O show. Let's hear from you, Jermaine and Onika. Let's hear from both of you all. Advice. You can give advice for singles and for couples.
Okay. I guess this one will work universally. Work on yourself, especially in marriages. A lot of times we tend to look at the other person and talk about what they're not doing. When you change yourself and your actions, especially in purpose, you change everything. People can't act a certain way around you when you start the way that you act. People can do certain things to you and around you when you change the things that you do. So my advice is work on you. Do what you know you're supposed to be doing. Be in your purpose. And that's when everything else starts to line up. Now, that doesn't mean that it's going to be easy. Sometimes it may hurt, some of the things that may have to walk, people who have to walk away from you, people that you have to walk away from. And sometimes it may change the way, if you're in a situation like you're married and there is no walking away, it may change the way you will relate to each other. But if you endure through the trial, at the end, you can get to where you were always trying to be. So don't look at other people looking for them to change. You do the change.
Was it?
I tried.
And I guess, well, I'll speak for, I guess, the married folk. I would say that you definitely do want to cherish your marriage because, I mean, think about it. Marriage is the closest representation that Christ has basically with us. He talks about, us being his bride, basically, so marriage is something that's beautiful. Obviously, it's something that's instituted by God. It's something that he wants for us. It's something for us to enjoy. It's great being able to have somebody, as Sean mentioned earlier, that accepts you, flaws and all, basically, that you don't have to worry about, oh, do they like this? Do they like that? Are they going to be turned off because I do this or I do that? They accept you as you are. And being able to go through life with someone like that, knowing that they're there for you no matter what, thick and thin, they have your back, I think is a beautiful thing because I don't think anybody wants to be alone their whole life. I think it's natural to desire companionship. We were made that way for a reason. God made us to work and fit together. And I think that it's a beautiful thing to be desired. So I would just say that summing up what everyone kind of said is basically you do want to make sure you cherish that. Cherish the fact that you have a marriage and don't take it for granted.
I have enjoyed this. This has been a real blessing. It really has been. From the bottom of my heart, I want to thank the illustrious Brittany Medley, who I think represented well for the single ladies out there. I want to thank my friend, who I don't spend enough time with. We got to hang out more. Chris Whittaker, who's doing great things in this world and who is making a difference and who I'm very, very much so proud of. Jermaine, I haven't got to know you well. I've known Onika since I was a boy. And Jermaine and Onika, it's good that you guys are doing great things together. Y'all make sure you check out the J&O show. And And hopefully you guys move to the Atlanta area so we can partnership down here. My blood brother, and we're not blood, but we stick closer to brothers, Sean Parker. Thank you, man, for juggling your life this evening and being a part of this. And you too, Shayla. You guys are the best parents that I know. And you're bringing up excellent citizens of this world. So Shayla, thank you for being a part of this. And for everyone who's watching on YouTube, for everyone who's watching on Facebook, on the South Atlantic page or my page, thank you. If you are watching this replay sometime in the future, thank you for watching. Love is not ordinary. It's not. In the recesses of eternity, God carried us around in his heart. And one day he spoke everything we see into existence. But when it came to us, he got in the dirt and began to mold us together. He gave us dominion and power. And then he gave us free will. Adam was in perfection. He was naming all the animals, the orangutan and the hippopotamus, the lion and the deer. And God sent something in his heart. He looked at that sad man who was sitting there wondering, why don't I got one of those? He said, man should not be alone. This is the reason that a man leaves his mama and daddy to find somebody. God put that in you, young adults. Don't let the world pervert that. There's nothing wrong with having that desire. There's nothing wrong with feeling that. God put it in you. It's not ordinary. So if you have that desire, find God. The Bible teaches us that if we seek him first, he'll add all other things to us. Now, hear me closely. Don't seek God to get somebody. Okay? That don't work. Seek God. All right? Seek God. And God will complete you. And who knows what the Lord will do for you. If you're married out there, if you decided to get married, don't treat your spouse as ordinary. Go on and look at the wedding album tonight. Remember when you got married. Remember that special time. Kiss them on the cheek and tell them they're beautiful. Let them know how special they are to you. The devil will send somebody who speaks your language to try to get you away from your spouse, who talks your talk. Okay? They'll do that. And you don't want to be the dude standing at the altar while Dwayne Wade take your wife, like on Different World. You don't want to be that dude. You don't. Cherish who you got. Because it's not ordinary. And the Lord is not ordinary. God has loved us with a passionate love. And he's passed that love on to us. And hopefully everyone who's watching this can experience that great love. I want to thank you so much for being a part of this. I want to thank you for watching. And we hope that you have a wonderful, wonderful night. As we close out tonight, I'm going to lean on my friend, Chris Whittaker, to pray for us. Chris, pray a blessing over the singles. Pray a blessing over the married couples. Ask God to bless them in a special way. And we got to come back for a part 2. I got about 5 other topics we didn't cover because y'all like to talk, okay? But we got to come back for a part 2. We want you to come back again. Look out for a part 2 sometime in the future. And I think this will go a long way. No ordinary love. Chris, pray for everybody, my brother. And let's close out.
Yeah. So, Father, we thank you so much for this very robust discussion tonight, Lord. I experienced it. I see other people saying it, God. There were so many gems of wisdom that were dropped here tonight. And so, God, we thank you so much for how much you have taught us and how much you have poured out into us. God, I just want to speak over every single person that is watching this, particularly individuals who are struggling in whatever season they're in, God, whether it's singleness, whether it's marriage, whether it's engagement, whatever it may be. Lord, I ask that you would remind them that it's going to be all right, that you have a destiny in store for them. You do have a plan. You do have thoughts that you think towards them. So God, I just speak blessings upon every couple that is right here on this panel, upon every single person, including myself, that is right here on this panel. And again, Lord, we ask that you would richly bless and encourage and strengthen every couple, every single individual that is watching and listening tonight. We pray these things in Jesus' name. Amen.
Amen. You can find the replay on Facebook and YouTube. Thank you again for being a part of No Ordinary Love. All my unsaved folk, I know you're thinking it. I know you're thinking it. I gave you all the love I got. Keep crying for you.
Hey,
I know you're
what you
thinking
know
it.
about that?
I know. I don't know nothing about that, but I know y'all thinking about it. But we're talking about the love of Jesus. Come on now. There is no ordinary love when you talk about the love of Jesus and the love of God in our heart. God bless you all. Good night, everyone. We'll see you again from South Atlantic Conference Youth and Young Adult Ministries.